My journey to be involved with the Shendrones Squirt has been a bit of a story, so I'm going to tell you that tale right now. You see, for me, it actually all started on behalf of DRL. Producers there and I had seen this video called Ononoko. It's like this awesome video made by a Japanese band, and it essentially uses a micro drone to like fly inside of a school building and fly around like the protagonists, the members of the band, kind of choreographed into the music, and it introduces each of them, and it's really cool. And DRL had asked me to kind of put together the process and the technical needs that we would need to achieve something like that. So like say we're setting up a course and it flies through a gate, shows somebody working on something, somebody setting up a light, all these things in that same choreographed fashion. When they asked me to do this, I reached out to Andy Shen from Shendrones and said, hey, what do we have anything that can do this? And he's like, fires right back, already has something perfect for the job. Sends me pictures of an older version of the Squirt, as well as some of his thoughts on how it does and doesn't work, and how it could be used to make the same kind of video. You see, Andy had already seen it and was already excited about it and was already cranking on it. He sent me a version, we started working on it together. I built mine, I flew it, and I fell in love. I think that the power that a mini quad, especially a really small one that's protected against soft targets and all these things, it has a lot of power. And for that reason, I'm extremely excited about talking about this project and how it works, how I've gotten mine to work, and share that with you. So if you have any questions or comments or concerns about anything within this video, definitely leave them below. In the meantime, let's talk about the Shendrones Squirt. The first thing that I want to talk about is that it didn't go very well for me initially. When I built mine and flew it, for the most part it was good, but when I got to like the extreme ends of maneuvers, I'm talking like barrel rolls or kind of split S sorts of maneuvers where you're changing elevations a lot, and in just really fast forward flight, the quad would kind of start flying, fly, and then like crank and yaw to the side just out of nowhere. And it was totally outside of my control. It was really scary. I almost lost the drone a couple times because of stuff like that. But through lots of time, lots of figuring things out, manipulating PIDs, changing props and motors and flight controllers and batteries and everything, we finally got it flying in a way that I am confident with and excited about. Along this journey, I think I've tried separate motors, flight controller, speed controller, props, battery placement, with and without GoPro. I have messed with just about PID settings, filter settings, all of the things. So I am very confident that with what I have got here and now, flying is the best case scenario. I think before I go in and start talking about why I love the Squirt, I want to talk about what the Squirt isn't. There's a little bit of confusion that kind of surrounds such a little product like this that I think it's easier to just dispel some of the no, that's not what it is first, before addressing this is what you should be using it for. First of all, it is not a racing drone. It's big, it's heavy, it's underpowered, it has like a 1-to-3 thrust to weight ratio. It's probably not that durable. It is not meant for racing, no matter what. I hope that doesn't disappoint you, but it's just not that. It's also not an acro quad. You're not supposed to take this out and go freestyling with it. You can, but again, it's underpowered. It's not extremely durable. It's not designed for that. And I don't think it's a beginner drone. It just does not fly as well as, you can look at the ducts as like bumpers, as protectors, which totally makes sense, but I don't think that it's the right solution. They're just too big, too cumbersome, too heavy. It doesn't fly the way that you expect a quad to fly, and I think that the way that we expect a quad to fly is the best case scenario for a beginner. So this is not a beginner drone. And finally, it's not an indoor drone. It's still heavy. It's 500 grams all up. It will destroy stuff in your house. It'll break through windows. It's not something that you should just use like a Cinewhoop. It is a tool and nothing but. So that being said, let's talk about what the Squirt is. It is a tool. It's a tool for making a very specific kind of shot for your video. The Squirt is as compact as it can be while safely being able to carry, for example, a GoPro around soft targets and through different kinds of obstacles. So like, for example, it has the ability to change altitudes, go through a small hole, track a target, and then fly off into the distance and give like a, a really dramatic cityscape kind of shot or something like that. And the goal for it, I think, is to be able to make these like single take, cutless, beautiful shots that no other camera system can do in the world, short of using like CGI or really, really, really well masked like transitions. The power is in its size and its safety and its just unique application. The Squirt has ducts. At first, I kind of was a little bit skeptical about the ducts. I almost would have just preferred like essentially just bumper protectors so that I could still use it around actors, soft targets, other things like that. And what I have come to understand from Andy Shen is that the ducts actually do have an impact on the amount of thrust that's produced. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. But Andy did a series of tests on his bench where he showed that with and without ducts would be a major difference in thrust. We're talking like 15-20%. So this drone essentially will not fly without the benefit added from the ducts. For example, I used to have different 3-inch propellers on mine, and it was the tolerance between the prop and the duct was not tight enough to generate the extra amount of thrust. And as a result of that, mine flew like garbage. So adjusting to these perfectly well-trimmed props that Andy actually sent to me because I'm so incapable of getting things right, and making sure that all the tolerances are working and that everything is perfect with the ducts, this flies like a beast. A question that I'm worried I'm going to get is, why didn't you make it under 250 grams? Well, again, so the reason that people want something under 250 grams is that they can get away with flying essentially what's a toy grade machine that doesn't need to be registered with the FAA, for example, in a city or around other things. And again, this is not what that is. This is a tool to make a beautiful shot, one very specific kind of filming sequence that it needs this weight. It needs the GoPro to achieve that. And some of the other processes to like make a sub 250 gram quad with a GoPro, you have to like strip the GoPro down and do all this really janky stuff that I don't want to do. I want this to be durable. I want it to be very plug and play, and I want to just fly it as it is. So it's not 250 grams because it just doesn't need to be. It's filling a different spot in the market, and it's not trying to be that. The next thing on my shopping list for this thing was that it could be around soft targets. So what do I mean by soft target? I mean like a person or an animal, or like a fancy car or something like that. Like the ducts, while they have that performance increase, that extra efficiency of thrust through the motors, they do also protect the motors from bumping into something. So like if you bumped a person in the arm, you wouldn't cut them. If you bump against a window or a car slowly, you're not going to hurt those things. And so it has this safety aspect that makes me a lot more confident and comfortable flying it where there are people around. And that's not to say that I'm flying dangerously or stupidly by these people, but instead to say, I can make them a part of the shot safely. And finally, this thing can go where cameras just can't. You can fly it through a car window. You can fly it through your house window. You can start really high, come low, go through something, up around something, through someone's legs, and then, reveal, whatever part of your shot. Like, I'm not even coming up with something creative right now, but I have plenty of examples, don't worry. But, the goal is to essentially create a camera tool, a platform that nobody's seen, that people are excited about seeing and seeing how it could work in a different way. And that's what the Cinewhoop style, or the Squirt, whatever you want, does. Prior to this video, I reached out on Instagram and asked if anybody had any questions. And the first question I got was, how do ducts affect flight performance and handling? Well, that's a great question. And I think, honestly, they affect it negatively in general. Having more surface area, having more things for wind and all that kind of stuff to buff it up against really does not work very well with quads in general. I just think that's true. But at the same time, they're needed. They give us that extra thrust boost. They allow us to fly around soft targets and stuff like that. So it's kind of like this give or take. It's a necessary evil. In general, I'm not flying this thing something out in the wind, or, you know, really acrobatically or really fast, I'm flying it slow and controlled and creating moments, creating shots on behalf of a film that I'm working on. Curious about your PID's setup. I'm going to go ahead and link everything below. I'll do a segment where I quickly talk about what my PIDs are, but for the most part, it's just tuned up. So I found that default PIDs, while they've worked for other people on this, I believe Andy Shen flies his on stock Betaflight 3.5.1. I had to tune mine up a little bit. I increased the P, increased the D relative to it, and I actually increased the I a lot because there's more error that the quad is trying to fight against. How much does the weight of the GoPro affect performance? I found that kind of a silly question, right? This is designed to only have the GoPro on it. Like, that would be the equivalent to me of like asking, like, how does your windshield affect your car's performance? Like, it's a necessary piece. It is a part of the overall puzzle. So how it affects performance does not matter to me. It flies the way it does with a GoPro. You gotta think about it like that. It's not about, is the GoPro holding me back? It's, what is the GoPro enabling me to do? What is the camera and GoPro angle, KV, and how much weight? So I run about 15 degrees in the FPV camera. I like to have a little bit higher than my GoPro generally, because the GoPro has a wider field of view. The GoPro is angled at 10 degrees. My KV motors are 3600, and the weight of my drone is just shy of 500. I think it's like 493.8 or something like that. So, I mean, it's a beast. It's not a light quad. It's not your traditional 3-inch quad. It is a cinematography, filmography, blah, 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 blah machine, and that's what it is. Recommended flight modes for use with cinematic shots. So again, I think the purpose of this is that it is a full manual drone. It's something that can fly in extremely complicated maneuvers that other drones just can't. So I, for example, only fly this in acro mode. You know, there might be a point to angle or horizon mode or something like that, but I mean, for me, for everything that I'm trying to do with it, it's all full manual all day long. And then somebody else asked me to post both stabilized and unstabilized video from this. So I've included some 2.7K 60 here, and then I've also included the stabilized version over here. So you should have, you know, the 2.7, so I shoot in 2.7 60 frames per second, 4:3, and then I use Real Steady to trim it down to 1080p at 30, give or take if I slow it down or speed it up. So here, enjoy. I hope that was enough of that to kind of see the difference. Again, it doesn't necessarily fly all that great. It doesn't look all that awesome. But when you take advantage of some of the software that's available out there, you can make these kinds of shots that no one's ever seen before. I'm also doing a little bit of experimenting with Hypersmooth on the GoPro Hero 7. That was not out when I started this process, but Hypersmooth does look really, really good. Here's some example of Hypersmooth. In that shot, I actually was flying a little bit more aggressively than usual. It was right after I got the quad flying the way I wanted it to, so I was really pushing the limits and really making it go fast. So I hope that it doesn't throw you off for what the thing could do. And that's all I have for like user submitted questions. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to ask those. It was good for me to think through it, make sure that I had everything answered that I wanted to be talking about. Okay, I wanted to talk about my actual build here. So this is my personal Shendrones Squirt, and I just want to talk about what's in it. Not necessarily because I have the right answers, but because I believe in the products that do work. Everything here is in the affiliate links below. Please consider buying those. Don't worry about it if you don't. I use a Tattoo 850 4-cell. This is just a Tattoo battery that I had lying around. I would use China Hobbyline if I had any here. Send me some, please. I use the Brother Hobby 1407 3600 kV motors. I had tried the T-motor version of these that are the similar kV and all that stuff, and they just were not giving me as much thrust as I wanted. I know that the Brother Hobby ones are like among the most highest rated of just all 3-inch motors ever, so I stuck with those. Inside of it, down in there, is the Hobbywing G2 stack. It's the 30x30. It's got a 45 amp ESC. It's way overkill for this. It's just what I had lying around. You could probably shave a couple of grams by putting in a 20x20 stack, which there are mounting holes to support, but you know, that's not what I have in there, and so that's just the reality of what's going on. I use an Axie stubby and a Unify 5V, as well as a run cam. This is a Sparrow 2, but it's also the exact same thing as a run cam Racer, which I have listed below, because they're the same thing. And then finally, it's all running on Crossfire. You can see my Immortal T right there. And that's, you know, and that's it. GoPro Hero 7 up top, Axie stubby out back, and this thing is a beast. So in conclusion, I just wanted to say thanks to Andy for helping me put this together, for helping me kind of work through all of my problems with the Squirt. I am extremely excited about all of the products that I can come up with as a result of this. Some of the shots that I've been able to get, and some of the shots that I'm able to show to directors and people, they're extremely excited about what this thing can do, and so am I. You know, even just while I was in Iceland, like just flying around, you know, it was awesome to take it and make these shots that no one's ever seen, that use the stabilization that's available to us, that take advantage of the scenery and the process and the people, and I'm really excited about how that looks. And I can't wait to keep experimenting with it. Like, most of my thought, like, creative process right now for flying drones is how can I use this to better tell the story of something that's going on around me. You know, is it, you know, are we at a store and we're kind of flying around showing each of the different departments of the store? Are we, you know, part of a sports team, kind of like weaving in and out of like a football scene in a movie or something like that? Like, I think there's some really cool opportunities, and I'm excited to play around with all of them, and I hope that you guys are excited to see that too. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that you appreciate and are excited about the possibilities of tools like this. And if that's something that you're interested in doing, definitely check it out. Pick one up from Shendrones and build it and send me what you do with it. I'm always excited to see what other people are doing with the Squirt. I've seen some cool yoga videos. I've seen just all sorts of cool stuff. And so I can't wait to hear from you guys what you're going to be using it for. So in the meantime, thanks for listening to this rant about the Shendrones Squirt, and stay flying.